Hello everybody, this is JD. And today, what am I going to talk to you about? Three things. Rednecks, immigration, and gun control. Some of you are going to like what I say, others you're going to dislike it. But it's straight and truthful. And this is how I feel. This is my personal opinion. Does not make it right, doesn't make it wrong. Makes it American. Remember, the most important, precious item we have is to celebrate our differences. And though you may disagree with me, I will truly support your point of view as much as I support mine. That is the job of the president. The job is to bring you all to Washington, D.C. Not me. You elect me to represent you all as the president and to lead the country in a direction that we, notice I said we, feel our nation should be going. Not in the present political economic world. Now, let me start off with rednecks. What is a redneck? Well, sometimes you sit down and you listen and you hear the redneck jokes. You know, you can tell a redneck by the back of his pickup because he's got a shotgun inside, a gun rack hanging up. Maybe some guns on it, but there's always a gun rack. And in the back part of his pickup, he's got his dogs. And a redneck is always driving a pickup. And you can tell a redneck girl because she definitely is driving a pickup, right? Another way you can tell a redneck is they don't drive around these fake station wagons that everyone calls SUVs. Yeah, they're station wagons. Like I said, they got a tailgate. You can put it in the third seat. The second seat folds down so you can open the tailgate and load up. But really, the clincher is, see, a station wagon, knowing that you could load up the whole inside with passengers, that had no place for luggage when you travel. So what did they put on top? A luggage rack. Oh, look at the issue. Right on top is luggage racks. Yes, if you actually look at the 1980s Subaru station wagon and today's Subaru SUV, you're looking at the same vehicle. If you look at the Jeep station wagons from the time they started having station wagons up until they changed calling it SUVs, you'd find out it's the same vehicle. So, a redneck doesn't drive around phony vehicles. They drive either a pickup or a car. And they know what they're used for. They know their function. A redneck is a person who believes strongly in our country and our government. And they believe that everyone has a right to say what they feel. That they can say it. They laugh about their differences, how the rest of the world looks at us, because they know how great they really are. Now, what group of people is a redneck? Well, it depends. In the north, where I was from in New England, anyone who was a farmer or lived out in the country and had a pickup and had a dog that jumped in and did hunting was a redneck. Anyone. It didn't matter whether you were, didn't matter who you were. If you fit those lines, you were a redneck. I mean, if you doggone grew your own food, you were a redneck. If you went hunting with your dogs every time hunting season, you were a redneck. If you loved your dog better than your wife, you were a redneck. Didn't matter what group you are. You're going to the South. Sure, you might run around with a Confederate flag painted on something. But the truth is, a redneck is a person who believes in a lot of standards. You go to the West. He might be a cowboy out there on the range who's still working as a cowboy. You know, he's got his pickup and he's got the trailer behind it, hauls his horses, and he's got his dog on the side next to him, and he's got his well, dog's in the middle usually, and his girlfriend on the other side. And then you got families of rednecks. But they're not one particular group. They are not white. They are not black. They are not ignorant. They are not Hispanic. They are not Chinese, Oriental. They are not. They are us. Down to earth people that truly believe in what we are made of. Just like I told one person, if you want a true sign to write on his pickup, he writes about Christmas. I said, change it to Christians. Christians believe in the friendly freedom and celebrates the difference of each and every one of us. We do not persecute anybody or anything. Rednecks are very much against prejudice of any kind. Now, sure, you meet some people who say they're rednecks that aren't. They're just something else, you know? And they're extremely prejudiced against one group or another group. There are people like that. I'm not going to disagree. Just like there's people, just like, you know, Jesus teaches us to love thy neighbor, but yet you'll have Christians out there who will kill somebody as soon as look at them. Just like the Muslims extremists, you have Christians extremists. You have Jewish extremists. It doesn't matter. There is extremists. But the truth is, what is a redneck? A redneck is an all-American who believes in all Americans and will defend all Americans. And you notice it's that word, all Americans. Now, you go to different areas, they may argue that point because some extremists don't want to believe in it, but that's their problem, not mine. That's my definition of a redneck. So when you see me talk about rednecks, you see me talking about you, the American citizen. You may be a little different than the rest of us, but if you truly believe in this country and what it stands for, you're a redneck. Now let's get on immigration. Now, you should all know my stance on immigration. One, I believe we have enough laws on immigration to cover any problems that we currently have. They just don't want to enforce them. So let's give out new laws and new procedures and stuff like that. This way here, we sound like we're doing something, but we're really not. But the truth of the matter is, let's talk about one particular, some people call them anchor babies. You know, children that are born here from a family that is here illegally. Well, you don't understand one thing that I see. When I see that child, I don't see an anchor baby. I see an American citizen. That child is born here. By the Constitution, has as much rights as any other American. And I will protect that citizen rights. And you may say, yeah, but they use it. I don't even want to hear it. That child had the good fortune, like you other Americans that were born here, to be born here. When we are to celebrate that good fortune. What does that mean? One, as an American citizen, it has the right to have a family. Because that child someday could be the president of the United States. Once that child is born here, doesn't matter who's its parents. When he grows up, he could be president of the United States. Doesn't matter how his parents got here. When he grows up, he could be a congressman or senator, but even better, he can be the president. She can be the president of the United States. Yes. So I will ensure to it that that child's rights are protected above all else. I will not, under any circumstance, force the split up of a family because they just happen to get here illegally. I would require that the parents do apply for citizenship. Now, what about the people who come here to work, like in the fields and stuff like that? They always do use the argument, well, the work that the Americans won't do. Well, right now, there is no work the Americans won't do. If you can give them a job, they'll do it. But those who come to work in the fields, I just use that as an example. Our government is so tied up in red tape, they have lost the sight of what the function is. A farmer needs people in the fields when the crops are ready, not 3 weeks later. Tied up people to immigrate into this country for 3-4 weeks for paperwork is a failure at this function. In other words, incapable to perform its duties, inept. That needs to be corrected, and it will be corrected. We need to make sure that when a person applies out of the country to work in the country, we immediately check everything that needs to be checked, and immediately, within a couple days, they know whether or not they can enter the country, and when they enter the country, they can pick up their paperwork at the point of entry. And they need to know that. And don't say it can't be done, because I don't think there's a single border crossing in this country that doesn't have a computer and a printer. And the paperwork can be made. And the official paperwork can be printed, stamped, sealed, and delivered. People come, they give their name, an identification number that they get from the government, and boom, they get their paperwork right there and then. And within 3 days after they apply, they should have a reply. Not 6 months, not 7 months, not 8 months. Within 3 days. And there's no excuse otherwise. The problem we have with our immigration is that, one, we don't enforce the current laws. Two, it's so hard to route paperwork through, it is ridiculous. People should be able to go to the embassy in their country, American embassy or chancellor, put their name in, where they want to go, why they want to go there, and within 3 days get an answer. If there is a problem, then they should be told within 3 days there is a problem, and that might take some research. If there is no problem, they should know within 3 days, this is your number, go to the border and pick it up. Once you hit the border, they have the equipment there to give you the paperwork you need. Now, another thing to help immigration a great deal is called legalization of marijuana. That would greatly do two things. Give a super tax resource to the federal and state governments, and cut down on the illegal aliens transiting. There's almost no place in the United States you can't grow marijuana. Better quality marijuana than we get from the South. We could have the highest quality. And besides that, the hemp plant is used for a lot of other things. I always feel that a man's home or a woman's home is their castle, and that the federal government ends where the front door is. They don't go inside. But that's another thing here or there. So my bottom line on illegal immigration is, one, we have too many laws now. Two, we take too long to process any paperwork. It's a bit ridiculous. We tie it up in red tape. And three, any child that has the fortunate experience of being born here is an American citizen, and their right to family, happiness, and the pursuit of happiness will be protected. You notice I said any child. I will defend the citizenship of each and every child that's born, no matter where their parents come from and who their parents are. Because if we could take away the rights of a newborn baby, when is it before we can take away your rights? Now let's talk about gun control. That's a very hot subject, and I'm only going to give you a history lesson. What and how did our Revolutionary War actually really start? Don't give me taxation without representation. That's a reason. I said actually really start. Bang, bang, shoot 'em up and all that. What and how? And that will answer all your questions about gun control. Our Revolutionary War started in Lexington, Massachusetts. Why? What was the British doing? They were marching from Boston up to Lexington to confiscate the weapons, the guns in the armories of the state militia. That was their purpose. And the people of Lexington said, no, we have a right to our guns. And that started the actual Revolutionary War. When those shots were fired, the Revolutionary War started between the British and the Americans. That is where the history of the Second Amendment comes from. That is the basis why in this country any form of gun control tends to be hit with a brick wall. It is the heritage that started our nation into existence. The right of the individual to have their guns. Now, I do agree that we have laws on the books that make certain types of guns not to be had. And I also know we have laws on the book that make certain type of individuals not allowed to have guns. These laws exist. They are there right now. Yet, somehow, those guns that are not allowed to be sold are being sold. Those individuals who are not allowed to have guns, and no one seems to do anything about it. See, if I was the persecutor, and let's just talk about the school in Connecticut, that individual who did that, if he didn't kill his mother, he actually did his mother a favor, because I would have nailed her to the cross. By her not properly securing her guns, by her not properly taking the proper methods needed to ensure that her son, who was incapable of having guns, who was incapable of handling the responsibility of a gun, got a hold of guns. Got a hold of rapid-fired, large magazines. She is the problem. She allowed all those children to be killed. Whereas if she would have took the precautions that were needed because of the condition of her son, every one of those children would be alive today. But she very haphazardly, got all kinds of guns and never once taken the responsibility that was involved with those guns. Never once. She has a responsibility to each and every citizen to ensure that those guns were not to get into the hands of someone like her son. Just like those people who have children that accidentally shoot themselves. People say, oh, they suffered enough. No, they didn't suffer enough. The purpose of punishment is to pay your debt to society. Their debt to society is to ensure that other parents with guns will accept the responsibility needed to ensure that their children don't get their hands on guns. Only way to do that seems to be is throw them in jail. That's the only thing they listen to. They start seeing these parents whose children shoot go to jail for involuntary manslaughter, then gun control will start happening. Now you can disagree with me and argue all you want. Drunk driving, rampage, out of control. Once in here in Virginia, once they started adding jail time, it had dropped significantly. And the deaths caused by drunk driving greatly dropped. Because they started people paying their debt to society by going to jail for unearthly time. Yes, they are suffering because their children died. But now they have a debt to society to ensure to it that other parents take action so their children don't get the guns. Now you get thrown in jail. We throw people in jail for nothing, for smoking marijuana. But yet a person who allows a child to have a gun, oh, they suffered enough. They suffered enough. Right. No. gun control, we have the laws. We need to enforce them as they are. And understand the revolution started over gun control. The truth is the British marched to Lexington to confiscate the guns in the state militia armory in Lexington. And the citizens said no. And that actually started the Revolutionary War. Matter of fact, a lot of the other states said, oh my gosh, what did we just start now? And that's how it started. So bottom line is, there's my stance on all of them. We need to enforce our current laws we have on gun control. We don't need to add new laws. I mean, honestly, what good is a clip that could shoot 100 rounds if you can't buy an automatic weapon? If you have a weapon that is not automatic, that will not load, you can have a 100-round clip, but it's going to slow you down having to cock that gun every time. So, believe me, that's a lot slower than having an automatic weapon, cutting the clips down to 10, fire 10 rounds, drop the clip out, throw another clip in, fire another 10 rounds. That's going to be a lot faster than having a 100-round clip and having to fire each round separately. Think about that. We have laws to prevent things that happen from happening. We don't enforce them. Immigration, we have to start looking at it realistically and start defending the rights of the people and making it for the people who come here to work easier to get into this country. We make it almost impossible. And one great way to help immigration is to legalize marijuana, believe it or not. And that will increase revenue for both the nation, federal government, and the states. Okay? And redneck, any one of you should say, I am American, and I believe in the Constitution, and I stand for the Constitution, and I enjoy and celebrate the differences that we all are that make up this country. You are a redneck. By all definition. At least JD's. Each and every one of you, no matter what color your skin is, no matter what color your eyes are. Oh, that's because I got blue eyes, I said that one. So, that's where I stand on the Constitution. I believe in redneck, immigration, and gun control. Thank you. This is JD.